most people who I know use movable dough don't ever use the syllables ever again once they graduate. And that is so sad. That is so sad. You learn all of this for nothing! Hello everybody, my name is Liliane Corverden, or you can just shorten it to Lilico. I am an orchestrator and arranger, and I'm going to explain why movable dough sucks. Just a disclaimer, this is my opinion, and if movable dough works for you and you really like it, then all the power to you, but this is just mostly for giggles, so I hope you enjoy the ride, because I'm going to be going on a huge rant. Solfege is basically a music education method used to teach oral skills, pitch, and sight reading of Western music. It usually uses the 7 syllables do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, and the idea is that you are given a sheet of music, and with just the sheet of music and a reference note, and without knowing the music prior and or being able to play it on any instrument, you can sing the melody just by looking at the sheet. There are 2 schools of thoughts with solfege. Both of them uses the syllables differently. In fixed do, they fix the do, basically where C is, and this will always be where do is. Do will never change no matter what the context of the piece is. Movable do is a little bit different. The syllable do changes depending on what scale you're in, and do will always be the tonic or the start of such scale. This is basically a map of who uses which system. This map is by no means accurate, by the way. I did this in 1 hour, so please forgive me if there's something wrong about it. So I'm gonna explain briefly why you can't really compare fixed do and movable do as if they were one-on-one systems that are very easily comparable. Fixed do is basically a way of life. You learn do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do from the day you pick up music, and you never drop it, because these are the names that we assign to each note, and that is the way how you will use these names to communicate what note you're talking about.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Well, movable do, it's a little bit different. You don't learn movable do the moment you pick up music, because the thing is, movable do is almost exclusively used in solfege and in ear training. So you can't just go ahead and compare them just in the context of solfege. You have to compare them in the grand scheme of things. So let me just quickly explain what are fixed systems and movable systems. Each musical system needs a way to describe what fixed pitches are. You also need a musical system that describes pitches in the context of a scale / piece, which can move and are relative, because pitches alone don't communicate any musical messages. So you need a fixed and a movable system in any system. And while fixed do focuses more on the fixed system and movable do focuses on the movable system, you will actually find out that both systems actually share elements of the other systems. It's just taught in a different way. Okay, so this is the problem. Okay, and I'm just gonna use a very simple melody. This is L'Arlésienne, written by Georges Bizet. I'm gonna compare basically the overall fixed do method of teaching things and the movable do method. So in fixed do, you have your syllables to sing the fixed system, and syllables work just fine. Now, you also need a movable system and a singable movable system when teaching solfege, and you use scale degrees for that. And that's easy because the number is basically the interval between the note that you're singing and the tonic, and that is so helpful. So you can sing both of them fairly easy. Now let's switch to movable do real quick. First of all, movable system, they use syllables. You know what? Whatever. It is kind of cursed when you're used to fixed do, but we're just thinking about this from the perspective of someone who started learning movable do. So you learn do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si using the movable system, and those are basically your scale degrees, and those are very easily singable. But you see, the problem with this is that kids don't care what is the function of the note. They don't care if you see kids struggling on the trombone, not knowing what note to play. You tell them the scale degree, they're just gonna look at you and be like, oh, well, you need a way to be able to sing solfege to them, to be able to help them out. But by singing solfege using movable do, you're not actually helping them. You might be like, oh, but then in that case, just sing in letters, because the fixed system uses letters to sing specific pitches. Yeah, try it. Try singing letters. Go ahead, I dare you. Like, it's literally awful. You can't sing with letters, like, with anything that's really fast, because first of all, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, most of them end with the same vowel. So it's really hard to tell the difference between any of them. And not only that, you're singing the trickiest vowel of all time, which is E. E is just not a vowel you want to be singing ever. Let's say we're going to take this melody and your kid is struggling and you're just like, you want to get this kid right in the moment so that the band can continue playing like normally they do. You would have to do C, G, C, D, E, C, G. Like, you see how that's a lot more trickier than just going ahead and be like, do, sol, do, re, mi, do, sol. So the real problem with movable dough isn't really the fact that dough is here. I mean, certainly that is the cause of it. But the real problem lies here. You do not have a solid fixed system that you can use to communicate to people efficiently. You know, I was working, now of course I'm more used to the fixed system, but I was talking with my friend and I was trying to communicate like notes and trying to communicate them while writing them on MuseScore when we were on Discord. And like, I'm just saying, like, just using do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do instead of C, D, E, F, G, A, B is so much better when the stream quality is bad. And when you're singing these notes over an entire orchestra or over a kid's playing, it needs to be hearable. And you cannot, like, this just is this, the movable dough's fixed system versus the fixed dough's fixed system is just inferior. Now you might say, oh, but the movable systems is superior to the movable, the movable system of the movable dough system is more superior than the movable system of the fixed dough system. And not really. Scale degrees work. They work just fine. So like, maybe you have like a slight advantage doing this, okay? But like, you sacrifice a lot in the fixed system. And then beyond that, you learn scale degrees anyways, because you can't understand the movable syllables without understanding scale degrees. You need to be first be taught, okay, here are the intervals, and then those are the syllables relating to that. So you learn 3 systems, which is more than 2 systems, to do 2 things that are not even as better than these 2 things. Syllables are just way better to describe fixed note than letters are. And scale degrees are just so much more efficient to describe scale degrees are better at describing scale degrees. It's as simple as that. You don't need to think harder than this. It really is just that simple. Now, we're not done. We are not done, because movable dough gets worse. First of all, not only are you going ahead and singing some whatever you're singing, but like, then not only that, you have notes for different names for accidentals. So let's say if, like, you know, in fixed dough you would go like do, do, re, and then let's say you were to sing in a different scale, you would just use the same 7 syllables, and the 7 syllables are very easy to track because all you have to do is figure what the note is, and that's as simple as that. But that's not as simple as that here. You gotta figure out what's this, like, if you're singing something like jazz and you have a lot of accidentals, you don't have 7 syllables to remember. No. You have, oh my god, you have more, actually you have more than 12 syllables. It's not just 7, you have more than 12 syllables to remember. And that is such, okay, I guess, yeah, it's technically more accurate, but first of all, it doesn't matter. If you sing the right pitch, it doesn't, like, you don't have to say, let's go back to this, right? Do, sol, do, re, mi, do, sol. You hear it. I'm in minor. It is very simple. But you were to do this in a movable system, it'd be like, do, sol, do, re, mi, do, sol, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi. It sounds terrible. It sounds awful. And not only does it sound awful, it's harder. And not only is it harder, you run into the same problem with the letter system, which is the fact that every single note ends up with the same syllable. So now the biggest problem with singing letters, which is the fact that all of them end in the same syllable, is recreated in the movable system. So now you're basically shooting yourself in the foot. And you might be like, oh, but we don't run into this. I don't know why I'm doing a French accent. We don't run into this problem because usually there's not that many accidentals. Yeah, really? Try singing in minor. You have 3 accidentals. You have may, lay, and tay. And it is, why would you do that? Just learn your minor scales. Just learn your minor harmonic scale, your melodic scale, your natural scale, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to trick yourself with all these tay, lay, say, may, say. Wow, that's actually hilarious. Like, I actually feel like I'm having an aneurysm when I'm literally doing this. This is how I feel. These emojis is how I feel. It's like I feel my ancestors are upset and they're just looking at this, and every single time I have to utter these syllables, they're just like, oh, this is awful. I'm also going to explain the other problem about movable dough, and it's the fact that you need to use so much more brain power to just do the most simplest thing. First thing is just fix dough. Figure out the scale. Oh, that is easy. We can figure out the scale. What scale are we in? We are in E major. Very, very easy. Now, figure out the scale degrees. Very easy. It's very simple. Now, moving on. Now, we got to figure out the pitch. You know the scale degrees, you can figure out the pitch. Just use your relative pitch scales, easy. And then now that you know the melody, all you gotta do is go ahead and sing the thing on the, you just have to look at what the note is. And that's it. You don't have to think, oh, how does this relate to the, why am I doing a French accent? Now, all you gotta do is just figure out the note names. And it's not that hard because you've been using these note names since the day you were born, and you know what and the note is. You don't need to spend a year figuring out what an E is. Just like how you English people can very easily figure out, oh, this is an E. I can easily figure out this is a mi. So it'd be like mi, fa, sol, do, si, si. Now, let me explain a short-term brain power that is required to go ahead and do movable dough. You figure out the scale. How do I even sing it? E, F, G, A, B. Anyways, you figure out the scale. Then you figure out the scale degrees. Oh, very easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you figure out what syllable it relates to the scale degree, which is a completely useless step because you already just figured out the scale degrees. Why don't you just sing the scale degrees? If you're so insistent on having it be movable, just sing the scale degrees. But no, of course not. You gotta go ahead and just go ahead and convert the scale degrees in the syllables, and there are 12 syllables instead of 7 syllables. Actually, no, there's more than 12 technically. And you gotta get the right syllables. I can't. And then you convert it to syllables, and then you gotta figure out the pitch from the syllables, which you could have just done from the scale degrees anyways, and then you sing it. So now it would be this. Do, re, mi, do, re, mi, la, si, da, la, si, sol, sol, la, do, la, sol, fa, sol, mi, fa, mi, re, ti. You gotta say T. Ti, do. It's literally, I can't. Now, if you think that the short-term brain power that is required to understand movable dough and to use it in practice is complicated, now let me explain why it's even harder to actually explain it to like the average person, the average muggle, basically. First of all, this is how you learn fixed dough. It's fairly straightforward. You learn the syllables when you're born. So you learn this is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Very easy. And then you learn to sight read with them. Then, once you enter into higher musical education, you learn scale degrees. And you learn how they relate to scales and etc. And that's very easy. Then, you learn to associate syllables to scale degrees according to the situation. Now you can go ahead and sing the syllable and sing in pretty much any scale you want. And then you can know if you just know, okay? That's just, it's not that hard. If you do your scales, it's pretty easy, which you should be doing anyways. And then you do solfege while singing the syllables. It is a 4-step thing, and not only do you become a badass, you use solfege not just as a mean to sight sing, but also as a way to better sight read. Because remember, syllables is the name of the notes. So basically, as you practice your syllables, you're simultaneously practicing your skill to sight read whatever instrument you're doing. And you also develop some amazing relative pitch skills since you learn to apply it in every single scale that you could possibly do, which is basically how it functions in any instrument. Anyways, now I'll explain how you use movable dough. Okay, so first you learn the name of the letters and you learn how to sight read them. There you go. It's very, very, very simple, right? Slightly annoying, because like it's not fun to pronounce. But anyways, moving on, once you enter into higher musical education, you learn the scale degrees. So that's really fun. You need to learn scale degrees anyways, because you need to understand scale degrees to understand syllables. So then once you learn the scale degrees, then you learn syllables. You learn to associate which syllable to which scale degree, which is really cool. That's, by the way, I'm exaggerating. That step usually takes like 3 minutes. And then you learn to associate letters to the scale degrees according to the situation. So basically now you know, and then you learn how to associate scale degrees to the syllables. So not only did you just have to convert letters to scale degrees, you had to convert scale degrees back to syllables, and then you do singing while doing the syllables. So you just, and you want to know what? You learn all these syllables and you have a great time in your life. You just imagine yourself at the beach and having the best time of your life. And then at the end of it, you don't even use it. Like, what am I even saying? I'm literally, I can't. Most people who I know use Movable Dough don't ever use the syllables ever again once they graduate. And that is so sad. That is so sad. You learn all of this for nothing. Hello everybody, so if you've been enjoying the video so far, make sure to go ahead and like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so now it's time for me to debunk stuff. And people who criticize fixed dough don't even know how fixed dough works. First of all, they go ahead and they take the, let's say, like the D scale, and they're just like, oh, try singing re, mi, fi, sol, la, ti, di, re. You remember? You remember this? Wait, let me go all the way back here. Like, you remember this vomit that I wrote out for you? Actually, I got this picture from Google Image. This vomit that they created, they think that we use their vomit too. We don't use their vomit. We don't do this. We don't use the D. For us, do sharp is dough. It is as simple as that. We say dough, but we sing it do sharp, okay? We don't insult our intelligence. They say, oh, try singing re, mi, fi, sol, la, ti, re. Sol, la, ti, di, re. No, we don't do that. We don't do that. Second great argument. Fixed dough only works with perfect pitch people. No, that is not true. I don't have perfect pitch. Movable dough is better because music is relative. No, well, I mean, yes, music is relative, but instruments aren't. When you're playing on the clarinet, you do a different fingering each time you play a different scale. It is just as simple as that. So knowing what note you're singing and knowing the name of the note is very important to know what's your finger. I don't even, why am I even explaining this? Music is relative, but instruments aren't, and it's important, and regardless of if it's relative, it's important to put them in contextual situations and how we use them in real life, and therefore, this argument is null and void. Next one. What if I'm a singer? That is probably the least worst argument that there is here, but here's what I will say. For me to sing in G major and for me to sing in A major, it's not the same feeling. Mi, mi, fa. And it will have a different texture. It will sound different. And I know that it's different with different voices, but that still proves my point that for you, as a singer, it is still important to be able to know the notes of the music. Just use fixed dough, okay? So I'm gonna make a brief summary as to why fixed dough is better. Fixed dough is more applicable in real life situations. Fixed dough improves sight reading because you're singing literally the note that you have to play anyways. Fixed dough practices relative pitch in more context than just relating it to the tonic. Fixed dough is better for modulating music. Fixed dough works better for all languages, which is true because the thing with letters is that, oh, whoopsie daisies, letters, not every culture uses the same letters, but do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do are pretty internationally pronounceable for pretty much every single culture. And also in fixed dough, since you use scale degrees and scale degrees are numbered and every single culture has numbers, I think it works. Fixed dough is generally faster. Again, you don't have to go ahead and figure out how to go ahead and tackle the issue of figuring out what is the tonic and what's the scale degree. All you have to see is just look at the sheet and sing the note. And if you are perfect pitched, it is a billion times faster. But if you're not, then it's still faster. But if you have perfect pitch, you are speeding away like Sonic the Hedgehog. Fixed dough works better with children and is a good educational tool. That is very true. And then fixed dough has no skill curve because you learn it when you're a kid and you just keep on growing it. Summary of why movable dough is better. It has a distinction between accidentals. It can be a weakness too, but it's good to be able to emphasize an accidental, because movable dough doesn't distinguish between accidentals. And that's it. That is it. So I got a little passionate, just a little bit. But really, what I'm trying to say is stop it. Stop the madness. And I hope that, like, the world would be a better place if everyone just used fixed dough.